So for this week, we're going to start a new module. As you know, this new module is called separation of concern. So if I go to your class repo and I go to home and I go down here, as you can see, module 7 is separation of concern, which is 2 weeks. That's fine. You already created your deliverable, your check-in issue. It's here. Now for this project here, you need to create a deliverable issue as well. And voila, that's simply it. Now, the first thing you need to do, I've shared with you on Slack already, is a template repo, and that will be the template repo. Separation is called separation of concern starter. Now, what you can do here, you can just use this template, create a new repo, and then here on, you need to choose your account. It must be on your GitHub account, and then you'll name it whatever you want to. Normally, you name it flights because the project is about flights, and then you create the repository, and that's it. That should be clear for everyone, if I'm not mistaken. Fine. Now let's go to the template repo here. I've already have my own, so I've already cloned it. I already, of course, create a repo, and I've already have my own and already cloned it. So voila. So let's have a look at the structure, and after that, I'll tell you what is the project, and you can start. So first we have assets, and assets simply here, you will put your photo and stuff like that in case you have any photos. Then we have the planning part, which is a backlog. Communication planning, you don't need it because it's individual project. Constraint, design, development strategy, user persona, and voila, that's everything here you need to write for this project. And remember, communication plan, you don't need it really. Why? Because it's individual project. Okay. After that, if you go to the styles, we have one style here, and you put your CSS here, that should be okay. Now, the most important part, which will be the SRC, which is the source. Inside the source, we have components, as you can see. And I've already created a dummy function here just to show you. So that's create user, for example. And of course, you need to write test for all your component function. And here I'm writing some tests for my component function. Remember, as I told you, to test component function, and just here we are using Node environment, but in Node we do not have the DOM. So we are installing another library which is called just environment JSDOM, which is create a fake DOM, unlike that we can test our component function. But you need to add this special comment at the top. Why? Because this comment is just telling just do not use Node as an environment, use JSDOM. And after that, you can just write your test for your component function. That should be okay. Events. So of course you put your event here. Depend how many event you have. Handler, same idea. And then we have util function. And as you know, also I've just put a dummy function here. Of course, you can use export and import, and here you can write your test. So for both component and util function, we can test both. And yeah, remember component and util, both of them are usable. That means I can use them again and again and again. I have my data, as you can see, const data, or normally it's an object, as I told you, and I'm exporting it directly. DOM, same idea. And then after that, I have my init, which is the entry point of my project. Now, this init here need to be linked to my HTML. And if I go to my HTML, as you can see, I've already linked it, /source init.js. And of course, you need to say type module. If you don't say type module, you'll not be able to use export and import. And I've already linked the style as well. And here you can change the title to whatever you want to. Here, I can just name it flights, for example. Flights like that. Because our project, it will be about flights. That's simply it. Babel RC, I told you Babel RC. Without Babel RC, you would not be able to use export and import as a new syntax, which is ES6. Because simply here we are using Node, so it will not be able to use export and import. But to fix this problem, we can install some library and add some setting. So environment test plugin, we are using this plugin, which is called Babel plugin transform module common.js or common.js. ESLint ignore, that mean, of course, linting, you know what's linting? Linting here, it will show you some, maybe some error, some squiggly line. It will try to help you to write a better code. And in ESLint ignores, that means that's the file I want to ignore. I don't want to lint them. ESLint JSON, I don't want to lint it. The test, I don't want to lint them. MD file, I don't want to. Package.json and package.json, I don't want to lint anything here. And of course, we have ESLint rc.json here. I can put my setting here, everything related to linting. You don't have to worry about that. It's just copy pasting, as I told you. But if you go here, as you can see, we have some rule for JSDoc. We have some rule, for example, don't know var, prefer const, and stuff like that. So we have some setting here. You don't need to remember them, of course. All the time, we go to the library to see what is the equivalent value. But for you, I'm going to give it to you directly. So you don't need to worry about ESLint ignore or ESLint rc.json. Get ignore, of course, you know what's a get ignore. So when we are using get, it track our file. And when I say dot ignore, it will not track these two folder, which is be node module. I don't want to add node module to my repo. And coverage also, when we write the test, it will show us a folder called coverage. I don't want to push it to GitHub. Prettier ignore, of course, prettier, as I told you, it's format your code. And here sometimes there is some file. I don't want to format them. And as you can see, node module, package.json, prettier JSON, Babel, RC, coverage, and those. I don't want to format those file because they are just some setting. Same idea, prettier rc.json here. So I have some rule here. What's important for me here is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All of them, I have 4 spaces. And here's just some setting. Also, you don't need to worry about it. For package.json, as you can see, the type is module, and I have 3 script format. When I want to format my code, it will format everything. Length, in case to check if there is any error or stuff like that. ESLint, here it's linting all JavaScript file. Test, of course, you know, we are using jest and dash coverage, so it will show us a folder, which is coverage we can see, and voila. We have a lot of different dependency or div dependency, but you don't need to worry about. What's important for us is Babel plugin transform modules that allow us to use export import. Type in jest. Now this library, if you install it, it will give you better suggestion. When you write your test, it will give you better suggestion. And that's the reason why I installed this one. So for example, if I have my file here and I go and I try to write some test like that, before it doesn't give me anything. Now, if I try to do test, see, it give me some suggestion and give me some hint like that. So that's the reason why I install this library. So this library is just to give you better hint when you write test or tests. It's called types slash jest. Just, you know, just environment gestum, that to test our component function. Prettier, you know what it is. At the rest here, lint, all of them here for linting file for ESLint. Don't worry about them. I just install them. Babel core, Babel ESLint parser, all of them inside the ESLint. So don't worry about that. Is the idea clear? Is the
Yes.
structure perfect? Now, what do I want to do? First, I'm going to ask Daria. So let's go here and let me show you the old project, which is flight. So just to get some data here. So I have flight here. So my project here, if I click on that, it's something like that, as you can see. So I have an image, big image. The image is not nice. That's why I will ask Daria to send me a nice image if there is. After that, I
I
have,
can.
good.
Samir, sorry. I can't because my trial version is ended,
Hmm.
so I do not have access anymore.
Don't worry, it's fine. So the images, if you find nice image, just put it. If not, it's okay. So what do I want to do here? I have different flight with different name, as you can see. The name of the plane, the departure date, which will be when it's kind of the departure. The origin, I think here is the airport is going, for example, LAX, stuff like that. When it will arrive, and the destination here is the name of the airport, which is arriving, how many stop we have. 0 stop, 10 stop, 5 stop, stuff like that. Now, of course, yeah. So of course, these data, all of those who are here, it's been generated in JavaScript. That means only the title, these title guys here, those, and this picture, because they're static, they're not changing. they are being generated in HTML, but everything else is being generated dynamically in JavaScript. That's okay. So let's click on here. What I'm interested here is only the data, and I can take the picture just to not waste time. So I go to my source here, and I go to my data, and I'm gonna just copy paste my data here. Copy. Now let's go to my file. Let's go to data. And I'm gonna remove this data and put this data I copied. So what do we have here? The data is an object, as you know already know. We have flights, and flights is an array, because now I want to create some DOM element for each flight. And as you can see, each flight has unique ID. That's how it should be all the time, unique ID. Then I have the name of the flight, the plane, the departure date, and the origins that the airport is going to departure from, the arrival date, the destinations that the airport is going to, and how many stop we have. And as you can see, that's my data. How many plane I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have like 7. And after that, I'm just exporting my data. That should be simple, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah. So I need this image as well, which is flight. And now here I can go to my download to get this image. Click it. Yeah, flight. So let's just copy it. Let's go to HYF Future, front-end 24, my fork. I think it's called this one here, if I'm not mistaken. Voilà. Now here's everything I need here. I don't need anything else. So as you can see in asset, I have my image here, which is the flight. That's what I want to. I have my data, all my data here, which is an array of flights. And after that, what do I want to do? Well, simply I want somehow to look through my data, and for each data object here, or for each flight, which is an object, I want to create some DOM element, and I want to append it to the parent. Currently, of course, I don't have parent, so let's create a parent here. So let's go to my index.html. As you can see in my index.html, I have nothing. So maybe it will be a good idea here just to add a header, which if I have any header like that, I can name it flight like that. And then I can create either main or parent or something like that. So I will use the tag main. Yeah, that's very good, main. And here inside main, I'm gonna create just a div with class parent, or flight, or whatever you want to call it. Voila. So that's simply my HTML. My HTML, of course, I have only a div with class parent, and then I have the title of my website, which I think I don't need it actually. But if you want to add it, it's not a problem. That's something simple here. You can decide, it's fine. But at the top, I think we have an image, if I'm not mistaken, right? So what I need to do here, I can create a div, and here's div, I can give it a class, for example, image. And here now I can import my image, which will be img. The source here is source will be /assets, right? And then here flights like that. And also I can add it flight, it's fine. Now, if I open my index.html in live server now, as you can see, I have my flight here. It need, of course, some CSS and stuff like that, so don't worry about it for now. I'm gonna open my DevTools directly. Okay, everything is okay. I have my image here, which is okay. So what I can do now, I can just apply a little bit CSS. Why? Because I want to this flight to cover everything. So if you have a look at here, that flight is just taking part of the website. I wanted to extend it to everything, and after that, I can create my flights here. So that should be fine. Let me just click on this one. Click on this one, open my style like that. Now what I can do here, I can just select my this guy here, this class, which is called image. And now here I can just say width, it's 100 percent, height is 100. No, height I don't want. I just want the width 100%. Now what I can do, I can just say dot img and then img because it's an image. Width I will make it 100 and height I'll make it also 100. So it will be 100 from the parent, which will be the div. Okay, let's save it and let's see now. And as you can see, this extend all the way like what I want to. But what I don't like here, the height is too much. So maybe I can make the height a little bit smaller. Stop, boy, stop. So here I can just play a little bit with this image here. Okay, let's just go to the parent and see without the parent here. And here, let's just make the height 15%, for example. Nothing is affecting. What's going on? Let me go to my CSS here. And the height is not 100%. I want to be 15%. Let's go back here. Still taking a lot of space, which I don't like. Height 15%. Yeah, but 15% is too much actually. Oh, okay, let's not make it percent. Let's just just say height. I don't know, 300 pixel, and now it will be fixed. So let's make it like an absolute unit. Height here, not make it percent here. I can just make it for the parent here, height. Let's make it, for example, I don't know, 600 pixel. That should be okay. Thank you. Here it's for the image itself, so it will take 100. Let's make it 100 and 100 from the parent, so it will be okay. But remember what I did here, the width is maximum, is 100, but the height, I fixed it. And now here my image still distorted. I don't like it. And maybe I can make it, I don't know, 900. Yeah, and it's, oh no, 900 is too much now. 500. Yeah, it's okay. 500 is not bad. It's not perfect image, but anyway. Maybe 400, it will be much better. Okay, that's exactly what I want. But that's actually not my objective. My objective is now to do the JavaScript part because that's the most important thing. So we add our image. Now that's the parent here. All my flight, I will be adding them to this parent here. Okay. So everything will be added here to this parent. That's fine. That's not bad. But now I need to create everything dynamically in my JavaScript. So let's click on this one. Let's go to the data. I have my data here. And then I have my DOM here. I need now to select the DOM I want to. So let's click here. Let's go to the DOM. What DOM element do I have? What DOM element do I need? What DOM element do I need?
Div, ID, everything.
Actually, I just need this guy here only.
Okay.
Only this guy. Why? Because I want to create my flight and after that insert them here. Maybe I can change the class to ID, which will be a little bit better because now I can use get element by ID. So here I can just name it parent. And here, of course, parent here, it will be document dot get element by ID. And the ID here, it will be parent, as you can see. So the ID is parent. Everything is fine. Why do I have this error? Extra space. Thank you. So that's my DOM element. It's nothing biggie. It's just I have a parent. I need to add these guys here, this flight here. Now, if I go to my original document here, see those guys. Now, the image here is not going to change at all. This title here, these titles, they're never going to change. So this title here is, this title is this one, the name, the plane, the departure date, the origin, the arrival, the destination, the stop, they're never gonna change. They will stay as they are. But what's gonna change, this data here is will gonna change because it will be generated dynamically. So what I can do actually, I can just insert those inside my HTML as well, because I know they are, as you can see, I know they are not dynamic, they are static. So what I can do here, I can just take the name, the plane, the departure, the origin, the arrival, the destination, and the stop. I just make it inside one div, which call it flight. The rest has flight as well. Those all will be generated dynamically. This one here, static, is not gonna change. I can add another class to it if I want to style it a little bit different than those, in case I need it. But now what I can do here, I can right click on it, edit as HTML. And now what I can do, actually, I can just copy all of that like that. And now I can go to my HTML. And inside the parent, as you can see, I can just add this guy here. Remember, it will be only one and it will be static. So here, as you can see, those guys, it will be static. They will never gonna change. I'm gonna just keep the flight. Because actually it's static, nothing is changing. As you can see here, name, plane, departure, origin, arrival, destination, stop. Of course, they need some styling, but for now, I'm just gonna keep them this way for now. So those, all the time they will stay there. Now, even if I go to the original way, if I refresh it, notice those, they need never change. So those, the data is disappear and they regenerate, but those titles are static. I will refresh and after that, look at it, see? If I refresh again, well, now it's very fast. If I refresh, those guys never change because they are static. And that's what I do. I just create them statically. Now, for each flight, I will create a div with class flight. And I need to add another div inside it, which will be the name of the flight. And I need to insert it from the data, the planes, the departure dates, the origins, the arrival dates, the destination, the stop. I need to generate all of that inside my HTML for each flight. Sorry, in my JavaScript in each flight. Is the idea clear so far? Yes, no?
Yes.
Good. So now what should I do? Well, let's go here. Let's go here. The easiest way to start here, I need to go to my event. Now, what is my event here? Can anyone tell me what is my event here? I want when my page is loaded, when my image is loaded, when everything is loaded, then I want to trigger the event. What is the event here? So I'm not waiting only for the HTML. I'm waiting for the HTML, for the CSS, for the image, for everything. Then I'm trigger the event.
On load?
What is, yes, of course it's load. So here, what I can do here in my event, of course, I told you everything should be inside the function. Even the event should be inside a function, because like that, I can export it to the init here as a function, and then I can execute it. So now I can create just a function. I say const, what should we name it? Load event, maybe good naming. Load event, and it's equal to voila. I will make it an arrow function, and I will directly export it, right? exp and export default, and now we name it load event. Voila. Now, what should I do now? I need to select my, of course, the load, I told you the load, it will be on the window or on the document. The load event is in the document or on the window?
Document.
No. DOM content load on the document, but the load, it is on the window, okay?
Yeah.
So here, what I can do, I can just say the window. And of course, in case you don't know, the window is the biggest object in JavaScript, include everything. Windows.add event listener, and the event, of course, it will be load, as you can see. And now here, I can trigger my function in case. This function, of course, I need to import it. So it will be the handler. Now I just created this way, but after that, I need to import it. What should I name it? The name of the function, I need to name it load handler, because the name of the file, as you can see, it will be load handler. So I will name it load. What happened? I will name it load handler, which I did not create yet, of course. Voila. So here, as you can see, it's undefined because I did not create it yet. So that's my event. Windows.add event listener. The event is load, and whenever the load happen, I want to trigger this function. And this function, of course, we call it the handler, which is load handler. And now everything is okay. I'm exporting my load event. Now I can go to the DOM here and I can import it. I'm sorry, I will go to the init and I will import it. I told you in the init, we import all our event. And here I just have one event function, which is called load event. So I'm going to import it here. So I can just say import load event, click. And now, of course, it helped me in VS Code. So I just need to add .js. And now here I need to call it, of course, and say load event. If I don't call it, of course, nothing will happen. Why? Because load event, load handler, it's telling me that load handler is not defined, but that's okay. That's not a problem. I'll define it now. Now let's go to the load handler. So I am expecting to create this function, which is called load handler in the handler. So let's create it first. Const load handler, it's equal to an arrow function. Voila. And of course, I need to export it, right? exp, and voila. And of course, now I need to import this handler inside the listener because I am calling it here, right? So what I can do here, I can just go to the top and I can say import load handler, voila, and I need to add .js here. And now this error is all of them, they will disappear. Voila. Is the idea clear so far? Yes, no? Hello?
Yes.
So in init, I need to import all my handler. I'm sorry, in init, I need to import all my event here, all my listener here. And here in this case, I have only one listener. I put it inside the function because like that, I can export and import something specific. And here's my event here, or the event is windows.add event listener, it's load. And my page or my app is being loaded, I will call this function, which is called load handler. Load handler, of course, it's in the handlers. That's the reason why I need to import it. Import load handler from // because I am inside the event. So I need to go out // and I need to go to the handler, then load handler .js. Voila. That should be fine. Now in my load handler, that's my function, as you can see. I'm currently doing nothing. What do I need to do here in the load handler? Any idea what should I do in the load handler? What should I do in the load handler?
Define what you want to put on the DOM when the page loads.
Yeah, so I need to somehow loop through my data and somehow create some DOM element and somehow append it to the parent, which is inside my DOM here. So what do I need here? What do I need to import first? What do I need to import?
DOM
Before the DOM, I need to import.
data.
So I need to import data from /data.js. That's okay. I need also to import the DOM. Import DOM. Yeah, that's not correct. Import DOM from, and here it would be DOM.js. That's fine. So I have my data, I have my DOM. That's nice. Of course, currently I do not have any component or util function currently, but of course I'm gonna create component and util function. For the event, I have only one event. I already link it to my init.js, so it's fine, there's no problem. For the handler, I have only one handler and now I'm working on it. Now later on, if I find something in the handler like dealing with the data, I will create a util function and I will put it here. I will remove those, of course, put it here. And later on, if I see like something dealing with the DOM, I can create component function and then I can import it inside my handler. So for now, let's just log our data. We're not gonna do anything. Let's just log our data. Our data like that. So let's see our data. And as you can see, of course, when that's the old one, that's not the new one, that's the new one. I don't need anything from here anymore. So if I go to the console, as you can see, I have my data. My data is an object, which is nice. And I have different flight, as you can see. Flight 1, flight 2, flight 3. So I know that everything is being connected correctly. I imported my event correctly to the init file. And now I'm explaining everything is okay. I have no problem at all. Well, my handler is working fine. Everything is fine. And well, how could I know it's fine? Well, because I can see the result here. Now, before I create any DOM element, I need to check my data. So as you can see here, maybe it will be a little bit easier if I can go to my data in VS Code. So as you can see, can you check the date here? So the first flight in 5, the second one in 20, then this one 25, then this one is 10 actually, 10/8, then this one is 15, then this one is 5, then this one is 13. Now the question here, are my flights are ordered? What do I mean by that? So what I want to do in my website, I want to show the most recent flight at the top and the oldest one at the bottom. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, no? Let me show you again on the website. So as you can see, if you look at the date here, I have 5. Actually, that's the oldest one. 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So the oldest one here, it's at the top. The oldest one, it's at the top. Why? Because that's 5/8, 2023, 5/8, 2023. And if I check the time here, they are the same, so it's no difference. Here's in 10/8, 2023, 15, 20, 25, 30. So what I want to do, I want somehow the flight from the oldest flight here at the top and the new flight at the bottom. Actually, in the airport, that's what they are doing. Because the oldest flight here, which they are really close to their departures, they show it at the top. And the new flight, which is a little bit away from their departures, they show it in the bottom, right? Yes? No? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, so how can now, as you can see, my flight here, they're not organized. I need somehow to organize this flight depending on their departure date. So the first step, actually, what I need to do, I need somehow to organize my flight. So how can I organize my flight? Any idea? Any idea how can I organize? So I can name it, for example, I can create a new variable and then name it, for example, let's say organized flights. It's equal to, what should I do?
We can map the rhythm.
Yeah, but if I map here, it will really not create what I want to. How can I manipulate the data? I make, for example, if you remember when I have an array and I want the smallest number on the beginning, I use another method, which is
Sort.
called
Sort.
sort, indeed. So I can use sort. So now what I can do here, now I declare a variable. And as you know, sort return unlike the order data. So it's ordering my data. That's what I want to. So I can just take my data, dot sort. Can anyone tell me what sort is? What sort is?
higher order function.
Indeed. So yes, it is higher order function. It take two parameter, or it take a function as a parameter. So now here in my function in sort, I need to pass a function, and here I will have A and B. And A and B, so all the time I need to take two parameters to compare them, because in sort what we are doing, we are comparing them, right? So I need to compare these two. Now here, what I need to do here, I'm gonna log A and B in sort and see what they are. So if I log A and B, what do you think it will give me? If I log A and I log B, what it will give me? I'm trying to sort a flight. That means a flight. What is a flight? What's the data type of one flight? Is it Boolean? Is it number? Is it what is one flight? Guys, it's not that difficult. One flight, what it is?
It's an object.
Yes, it is an object. And now if I log both of them and I go here, that's the old one. I don't need it anymore. No. Refresh data sort is not a function. Why data dot sort? Yeah, because of course it's not data, it's data dot flights. because I'm trying to access an object. Data is an object, so I need to access flights, and flight is an array, and dot sort, and now it will work. And now here, if I go to those, as you can see, for each item here, I have an object. And that's what I want to. I'm trying to compare this object. But can I compare an object? Of course, I cannot compare an object. I need to compare a property inside this object. And this property here, it will be the departure date. Why? Because the departure date tell me when the flight is going to fly. And from this date here, and now I can compare both object and see which object it will be, for example, take a longer time, which one take less time. Is the idea clear? So now I need to compare this date. I cannot compare the whole object, but I can compare one property of the object, and which will be the departure date. The departure date, it tells me when the flight is gonna fly. So here I have departure date. And now here, if I go here and I say a dot departure date, of course it's an object, departure date and a dot departure date. And now here it will give me the date, as you can see. Voila, it will give me this date. But what should I do with this date? Can anyone tell me what should I do with this date? Yeah. Can I create the date object from this date? Can I create a new date object from this one?
Of course you can.
Yeah, of course I can. Of course I can. True. So now what I can do here is just remove this one. I don't want to. I just want to remove this too. What I can do here, I can return. Now here I'm going to create a new date object from both date. No, date. And I will take a dot departure date, which will be this one. And here it will be minus new date as well. And here the new date here, it will be the date of B. New date. And voila. And now here, if I go and log my organized flight, log organized flight, I will see some changes. So let's see. And now if I go here and notice here, notice that I have 5 at the top now. After that, I have another 5. Then after that, I have 10. Then actually it shouldn't be like, yes, 10. Then I have 15. Then I have 20. Then I have 25. Then I have 30. So actually all my date object is being organized. Why is it being organized? Well, it's simple because here I'm using sort. Now, sort, as you know, it's higher order method. I'm passing 2 parameters, A and B, and now I need to compare A and B. A and B, both of them are objects, so I will not be able to compare them. I need to compare something else, which will be the departure date. Now, the departure date here, it gives me the year and the month and the days, space, the time. If I have these data here, I can create a new date object. So it's a new date object for A minus new date object for B. And of course, here, if I say new date object, it will create a new date object for both of them. And now here I can say A minus B, just like we did in sorting before. So for example, if I have 2 numbers, or I say const ARR, it's equal to, let's say 1, 2, 3. If you remember how to use the sort here, I can just take my array, say ARR dot sort. And here I can take 2, I need to pass a function, of course, A, comma B, and here I can just return, because it's one line here, I can just return A minus B. And it's the same idea what I'm doing here, actually. I'm creating a data object for both of them, and then I just say A minus B, just like A minus B. Simple like that. I can make it a little bit even easier. So now I have a date object. What I can do, I can convert the date into millisecond. All the date, I can convert it to millisecond to make it a little bit simple. Of course, now it's working. But to make it a little bit more easier, I can convert 2 objects to millisecond. And depending which one is greater, the greater date here, the great milliseconds, that means the date is most recent. The less milliseconds, that means the date is a little bit old. Do you understand what I'm saying or not? Yes, no? Dot get time. So if I say get time like that, which is a method, do you understand what I'm saying or not?
Not really.
Okay. Let me show you. I need some date. So let me go to data. I need this date here. So I'm gonna copy this guy here. Let me go to my console here. And now here, if I say new, actually I need to save it, but anyway, no, it's fine. New date. And now here, if in the new date, if I pass my date here as a string, see, it's giving me a date object. Now, if I say dot get time is a method which will convert this one here into millisecond. So it will convert my date, as you can see, into millisecond. It will convert everything to milliseconds, 16, 9, 1, 2, stuff, blah, blah, blah. Now let's compare to something else. Now here it's 5, and let's take 30. Just to show you. That's the 30 here. I'm gonna copy the same idea here. Copy. And if I do the same idea, new date, but I've changed the date, of course, like that. I put this guy like that, and I click on it. Which one is bigger? If I compare both of them, which one is bigger?
Second one.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do here, or what I'm doing here, I'm convert the date, all the date here to millisecond here, and this one to millisecond here, and then after that I can compare them because both of those are numbers simply. And if I go again to the documentation and I say, for example, date dot get time to know what this get time is doing, so click. So get time is the method of the date. It returns the number of the millisecond for this date since the epoch. The epoch here, its specific date is the 1st of January 1970. So the date in programming, how do they calculate it? They start from specific point of time, specific date, which will be January 1st, 1970, 000000. That means the hour is 0, the minutes are 0, the millisecond are 0, everything is 0. And from this date, they are calculating the date you have. And of course, from 1st of January 1970, 000, all of them 0, until the current date here, it will convert now, it will calculate it, how many days and how many, I don't know how many months, if there is months, year if there is years, and after that it will convert, and of course hours, minutes, second, and it will convert all of it to a millisecond. So what it return, a number represents a time step in millisecond, so it will just return the date here in millisecond. And so all the date in millisecond. And because it returned my date in millisecond, now as you can see, I have two numbers and I can compare these two numbers according to my need. Is the idea clear?
Yes.
Yeah? For everyone? I'm trying to compare two date objects. So that's new date here and that's new date here. The problem is it's two date object. So I need to find a way to somehow to get one property from this date object to be able to compare them. And one of the methods I'm telling you is get time. Get time, it will calculate all these date in milliseconds, starting from the 1st of January 1970. So now, all of them, they start from the same date. And it would be January 1st, 1970. So at this point here, and then it convert all your date here into millisecond, as you can see. It's the same idea, millisecond. Now I have two numbers, so I can compare these two numbers. Because comparing two numbers is simple. Either this one is bigger, or this one is smaller, or this one is smaller, or this one is bigger, or they equal to each other. Is the idea clear? Yes. No. Okay. So the idea of why I'm doing all of this one here, this stuff, well, I'm doing all this stuff just for one simple reason, because I want to order my flight. I want the oldest flight to be at the top and the new flight to be at the bottom. And that's the reason why I'm doing this one here. Okay, that's fine. That's not bad. But now a question for you. What I am doing here in this part, am I dealing with the data or am I dealing with the DOM? Am I manipulating data or am I manipulating the DOM?
Data, of course.
Data, of course. So wouldn't it be better if I put this one in its own function and then just import it and use it in the handler?
Yes.
What type of function it will be?
Util.
Oh, util, of course, yes. So I will do that later, but for now I have my organized flight. So now, because I have my organized flight and my organized flight, as you know, it's an array, I can now loop through them, right? And I can loop through them. And after that, when I loop through them, I can create whatever DOM element I want to, and then I can append it after that to the parent because the parent is inside the DOM, right? Yes, no? You got my point. So now I will loop through not the flight, the data here flight, no, the organized flight, because I want to organize them. And I'm ordering them here. So the oldest one, it will be at the top, and the newest one, it will be at the bottom. So now I will take the organized flight, and I can just say dot for each, right? For each. And of course, for each flight, as you know, flight is an object, right? Is flight is an object or not?
Yes.
And now here for each one, what should I do? Flight is correct.
Map it.
No, I don't need to map it. I'm saying for each. So I know for each I
Oh,
can
yeah,
create.
yeah.
I can create the DOM. I can create DOM element. So here, that's what I want to hear. Now, what I need to do here for each flight, now I'm going to create a parent div, and I need to give it class flight. Then I need to create inside it how many div? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then for each div here, I need to give it a class name or plane or departure or origin or arrival date or destination or stop. And I need to put the text which will be inside the flight because this one is an object, as you know. This text inside those, I need to put them inside the DOM element. And then at the end, I want to append it to the parent. Is the idea clear? Let's do it practically. First, so I need to create the container or the parent here. I need to create this one here. So with the idea here, I need to duplicate these ones. This one is static. Now I need to duplicate multiple divs. So I need to have multiple flight like that. So first, let's create a parent. So let's say create, let's name it a container. Or maybe you can name it a flight. It's fine. Create a flight. A flight like that. How can I create a flight DOM element? Flight, why flight is not correct? Flight, GHT. Well, okay, what DOM element should I create first? What DOM element should I need to create a div with class?
Flight.
Yeah, so how can I create it? We can just say const flight. It's equal to document dot create element. And what the element is?
Div.
Of course, it will be div. Now I need to add class to it, right?
Yeah.
How many class do I have to add it? One class or more?
One
More.
class.
One class, so I can make it simple instead of using, I can use classless dot add if I have multiple classes, but because now I have one class, I can just say fly dot class name. Simple. I can just say class name like that. Class name, it's equal to flight. And class name here, it should be in capital. Voila. Remember, I can use both, which will be fly.classless.add if I have multiple class, but now I know I have one class only. So now I've created the flight, which is a div, which is a parent. I add a class to it, which is flight. Now I need to create the name, right? Name. Here I can just name it flight, not create flight, just flight like that. Flight like that, name. What is the name? It's another div, right? And I need to add a class name to it, right?
Yes.
And also I need to insert the name of the flight, which will be here in my flight here. So I can just say const name, it's equal to document. Sorry, the uppercase, it will not work. Const name, it's equal to document dot create element. And what is the element? It's also a div, as you can see. Now I need to add a class to it, so I can just say what was name, class name, its name, because the class here is name. So name dot class name, its name, and now I need to add the text inside it. So to add the text inside anything, I can just say name dot inner text or inner HTML, which will equal to flight. Remember, flight is an object dot name. Voila. So I'm finished from this one as well. So now I've created the flight, which will be the parent here. I've created the name. Now I need to create the plane. And I need to, after that, to create the departure date and then the origin. I need to create all of them. Okay, I finished with this one. Now the second one, it will be the plane, as you know. Same idea. I can just say const. Are you with me or you are sleeping?
We are here.
Const plane, it's equal to document dot create element, which is div. I need to add a class to it. The class is plane. And also I need to add that my data. So it will be the plane dot inner text is equal to fly dot plane. Why? Because if I hover over the flight, notice in the flight, what do I have? I have ID, I have name, I have plane, I have departure. So I have plane, and I'm adding the text inside it, which is good. Now I need to add the same for the others, which now I need to add departure date. Departure date, the same idea. Do you get the idea now, guys, or not? Can anyone
Yes.
tell me what should I do? It's the same as
Const
const, yes.
departure date.
Just departure, it's fine, or departure date, it's for okay. It's equal to document.
Document create element div.
Yeah, and now I need to add a class to it.
Departure date.
Dot class name, it's equal to departure date. So I need to name the class as this one here, not as this one. Voila. And now here I need to add the departure date, right?
Yeah.
I need to, so I need to say departure date dot.
Inner text.
Yes, departure date dot inner text. As you can see, it's equal to flight dot departure date. But I need to make sure that my data, it's written this way. Is it written departure date? Yes, as you can see, departure date, which is good. Okay, now origin. Someone else? Can you help me with origin, someone else?
Do const
Yeah, const origin.
origin
It's equal to
document
document.
dot create element
Good. And the element will be.
a div
And now after that, I need to add a class. Origin
for
dot class.
origin dot class name equals origin.
Origin. Yes, because that's my class here. And now I need to add the text, which is the origin from my flight inside it. What should I do?
Origin dot inner text.
Yeah, it's simple. It's equal to fly dot origin. Simple.
Yeah.
Good. And now I will do the same for arrival date, the destination and stop, but simply they are the same. So I will go very quickly. I will use Copilot just to, because they are repetitive stuff. Destination, same idea. Voila. What else I have? I have stops now. The last one, it will be the stops. Okay. Okay. Fine. Now, what should I do? Now, as you know, this name, plane, departure date, origin, arrival date, destination, stop, all of them, I need to put them inside my flight, right? Yes, no?
Yes.
All of these divs, I need to put it inside the flight, right? Are you with me, guy, or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Can I do that or not? How can I do that?
Appending.
Yeah, I can just say flight dot append. And what's the difference between append and append child?
And you can put multiple children.
True. With append, I can, as you can see, I append everything or one stop. But with append child, I can append only one thing at a time. And remember, the order does matter here. So I want the name to be first, then the plane, then the departure date, and then the origin, then the arrival date, then the destination, then the stop. And here the order does matter. So if I put the plane first, I will see the plane first in my DOM. And that's okay. Now I create my flight, but my flight is here. Everything is nice, but did I append it to the parent or not? Did
No.
no. So now I should append it to the parent, right?
Yeah.
What should I do?
Uh,
DOM dot parent dot append or append child. It's one, it doesn't matter. Append, what should I append?
Flight.
Only flight. And the rest is already inside the flight. Now, if I save it and I go to my code now, go here and code error identifier flight has already been declared. So let me see. It look like I have some, yes. I have a small problem here. Why? Because this one is flight and this one is flight. So maybe I can change this one to something else. Maybe I can just say flight. I will name this one flight dome. Okay. Just so I don't have any problem here. Flight dome. Because I have a name here and I have name here. That's the reason why it's giving me this one. So here I'll just say flight dome, and that should be okay. Flight pen child on the parameter, yes, because that should one here should be flight dome. And now that should be working. Now if I go to my voila, as you can see, everything is being generated. Of course, it's awful. I mean, if you go to the style, it's totally awful, as you can see. But as you can see now, everything is generated. My flight is organized. So I'm not gonna spend on styling time. So I can just take the same styling from my old project because my objective is not styling. Of course, for you, you need to spend some time on styling. But for me, I don't want to waste time. My idea is just to explain the JavaScript for you. So let's go to the styles and I will just copy these styles here. Where is my styles? My styles like that. Let's save it. Let's see how it look like at least. Yeah, not that bad. My image is still not that perfect, but as you can see now, notice I have the name of the flight, I have the plane, I have the departure date, and all of them are organized. The old date is at the top, the new date is in the bottom, the origin, the arrival date, and the destination, and also how many stops I have. So my project is being done actually. Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay, now I'll show you. Of course, I didn't do separation of concern totally because now my handler here is awful, is literally awful. I need now to take anything dealing with data to util function. And this function, this big function, actually, it just could be a component function because it just create a DOM. And like that, my handler, it will be very smooth and it will be very little bit. I will just have 2 lines of code. And this function, I will just move it to util and component. And in case I need them in the future in another place, I can reuse them. Is the idea clear? Yes, no? Okay, let's take the first part here. So the first part here, as you can see,
Sorry.
I am.
Samir,
Yes.
can I ask something?
Please, Daria.
So you have this like line number 18, you create div, but your div already created. You can just affect it by using this data from your DOM.js. So you can put it there in DOM.js, and from DOM.js you can take this data.
Well, yeah, but that's too much complication, Daria. If I do that, I will end up with a lot of element being created in the DOM. And by the way, I will not see these DOM elements, so it will make a lot of bugs and error. The easiest way here, when I create my DOM element, I just keep them as the same function like that. I will not make any mistakes.
Yeah, but for me it seems easier because you put line number 18 and 19. You use it inside the DOM.js, and otherwise you affect only, you need only one line. It's dom.name dot inner text equal to flight name, and that's it. So you need less code.
Yeah, but that's not gonna work, Daria. Tell me why.
Mm,
Tell me why it's not working.
I don't know, because we already have this all these divs in HTML.
No, you don't have all these div on HTML. Who told you you have them?
But you have
Where
all
are
these titles. You
where
have
are
all
they?
these titles. So div
Um,
name, plane, departure date, origin. You have so you
okay.
just update parent with latest data.
No, but I think you get my. It's not correct. Notice, Daria, these guys here, this title, it's just one child. But my data here is different. See, those are different. Each one of them is a flight. See, each one of them is flight. I'm not changing anything in this title here. Nothing. Those are static. I'm not appending them here. Those are just to show here. So those are here. Those guys here are static. Never, just like these images, they're never gonna change. But in my flight, I'm creating everything as you can see. So if I go here, I'm creating them again and again and again and again for each flight. And that's what I need to, because I need to create this name plane, departure, this div for each flight. You got my idea. Now, if I go to each flight, notice I have a div with class name. If I go to the other flight, div with class name. If I go again, a div class name. So for each flight, I'm creating this element. If I put it inside the DOM, it will be only one element. And if it is one element, I am not allowed to use a DOM element in multiple places. I can use it only in one place. Do you understand my idea or not?
Not really, but when we will do this project, I will try both options and I will see why it's not working. So just in practice.
Okay. Again, I'll try to simplify it. Those guys here, see these guys? They're static. They're never gonna change. I don't want anything from them. I just want to show this title here. That's it.
Yeah, it's static, but you append a child to this static div.
No. I don't append anything to them. No. Where are they? I did not append anything to them.
I think it's
append.
because they have the same class name.
Yeah. So as you can see, the child, I append them to the parent area, not to this flight here, not to this one. No, I append everything to the parent, not to this guy. This guy is just some text. Voila. You got my point. So those guy is nothing here. I can name them whatever I want to, by the way. I can give them, let me give them different class actually. So I will name this one here test as well. I will add another class called test. Notice, test. And if I save it, notice what's the difference between all of those now. This flight test, it's one div, but the others, they don't have flight test here. They're totally separated. They're not the same. All of them, they have the same parent, yes. But this one, I'm not appending anything to this guy. It's just to show you this title. That's it. Okay?
Yeah, class name is a bit
Yeah, maybe.
okay,
It's okay.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Perfect. And so now what do I want to do? I need to organize my separation of concern. How can I do that? Well, it's quite simple. I will go to this function here. Now this function here, I'm manipulating my data. Because I'm manipulating my data, it will be a good idea to create a separate function in where? In where?
Util.
In util. So what can I name it?
Organized flight.
Sort flight or organized flight, whatever. Sort flight. Flights like that. Voila. And of course, now here, if I want to write some tests for them, I need to rename it as well, as you know. So I need to name it sort flights. It's the same name now, dot test dot, voila. Okay, now here what I can do, I can take this code, all of it, just cut it. And now here I can go to sort flight. I don't need all of that for now. I need to import data, of course, but I can just say const sort flight, which will be a function, as you know. And now here I can just paste it here. Now it's just inside one function here. And of course, I can export my function directly. EXP. Voila. That's fine. But now what do I want to do here? When I organize my flight, I need to return them, right? I need to return the organized flight because here I'm not using them, so I need to return them. It's the same code exactly. I did not change anything. The only thing I did, I'm just saying my organized flight, and now here I can pass my data in here. Actually, I don't need data here. I don't need data. Why? Because when I call the function, I will pass my data here. Where I will call the function, well, I call it in my handler, and in my handler, I have the data there, so I can just pass him as a parameter. So nothing needed here, actually. What I'm doing here, I have a function, which is util function. It will take data here, or maybe flights, actually. Data or flight is really depend. It will take some data object, and now what's going to do, it will take data.flight, sort them, and then it will return the sorted flight, and then I'm returning them here in my function, and that's what I want. Is the idea clear here? Yes, no?
Yes.
Deniando?
Yes.
Why it's better to pass my data in this util function as a parameter and not to import the data inside
Because
this. Mhm.
because we are using this function in handler, right?
Yes,
Yeah, and from there we can pass the flight
the
data.
data. Yes, that's good, but there's something else. If I import my data here, will my function be reusable?
No.
Exactly, because if I import in my function, I import the data here and I'm using them, I will not be able to use it in another place. But now, as you can see, I'm just passing my data as a parameter. That means I can now use this function in any place I want to. The most important thing is that I just need to pass my data. That's it. Is it clear for everyone? Hello?
Yes.
Good. So that's my function. Now, all I have to do now, of course, my function is not finished. I need to document it. I need to write some tests for it, but for now, I will leave this one for you because you already know how to test everything. What time is it? It's 10 and a half. Oh my God. Let's take just a 10-minute break because I feel like my throat is just, and we'll come back and complete them, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
stop the recording. Okay, so that's my util function, as you know. Now what I need to do, I'm exporting this util function, and now I can import it inside my handler. So what I can do here, I can just import. What we name it? Sort flight, right? Sort flight from util.
Samir, wait. Everyone is on the break.
Yeah, but it should be 10 minutes. I mean, 10 minutes is over.
I know, but no one is here.
It's
Only few
fine.
people is here.
It's okay. So yeah, it's fine. Nothing will happen. It's okay.
You have to wait. Yeah, you have to wait.
Why?
Mm.
Can I start now?
Not yet. No, not yet. We are missing half of the group.
So now, after I created my util function here, where's my util function? It's called sort flight. I'm exporting it. Now I can import it inside my handler. And as you can see, I'm just saying import sort flight from dot util and then sort flight.js. So I'm just importing it. Now I can just declare a variable and name it organized flight. It's equal to sort flight. That's my function, and I can pass my data. Why? Because simply my function here, which is a util function, If I click on this one, it expects me passing the data, and I am passing the data, and it will return me the organized flight. And so I'm just saving the organized flight in a variable, simply like that. Is the idea clear here? Yes or no? Hello?
It's getting better.
Yeah, good. Now the second step here I need to do now here, as you can see, I have very ugly function here, which is creating DOM element. So what type of function create DOM element? What type of function create a DOM element on component? So I can just go here,
Component.
and now I can rename it, and I say create flight, because I am creating a flight, right? Create flight.js, and here also I need to name it create flight. Voila. So in create flight, what should I do here? I can just simply remove this function, and I can create a function called create flight. So const create flight, which will be, of course, I need to pass my data, which will be an object flight data. And now here I can export it, voila, simply like that. Now let's go to our handler. In my handler, as you can see here, I am passing here the flight data, and I have all of those. So what I can do, I can simply cut all my code here, cut it, and go inside my component function and put it here. Voila. And now just save it now. So here, as you can see, I am receiving the data here, which will be the flight, one flight here. This is an object which is one flight. I'm creating the flight DOM. I'm creating the name, the plane, everything. Then I'm appending it to the flight DOM. And at the end, I will return the flight DOM. Why do I need to return the flight DOM? Why do I need to return the flight DOM? Any idea why do I need to return the flight DOM?
So it can appear.
Yes. So in the handler, I can append it to the parent, indeed. So now what I can do, I will go back to my handler. And as now I need to import my component function. So I can just say import create flight. And of course, VS Code will help me. And now here, as you can see here, I can just create the flight DOM. So inside my loop here, I can just say const flight DOM. It's equal to, and now I can call my function, which is create a flight, and pass the data. And voila, as you can see now, my handler is just 4 line of code or 5 line of code. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's much better than before, which was very messy. So now I have one component function. My component function take a flight object, and it creates a flight div, it add a class, it add name, it takes the name of the flight, it creates a plane, and voila, it creates a departure date, it creates the origin, all of that, then append everything to the flight DOM, then I'm returning the flight DOM. In util function, I'm sorting all my flights, then I'm returning the sorted flight. Now in my handler, it's quite simple. First, I need to organize my flight. So in order to do so, I can just call my function sort flight. And sort flight, as you know, I need to pass the data. I'm passing my data. It will return me the sorted flight, so I'm saving it in a variable. Now, because it returns me the sorted flight, I can loop through them. And now I will have a flight, one flight object. And for each flight, now I can create a DOM element for the flight. And I can just say create flight, and I'm passing the flight data. It will return me a DOM element, and now I'm appending it to the parent. And now here, if I go to my code, still working as it should be without any error. Voila. Voila. Any problem here? Any problem here? Any problem here? Of course, we are not done. Still need to add some stuff, but now I have a question for you. If now I go, notice how many flight do I have? Let me go here. How many flight do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Okay, good. What if I add another flight to my data? Do you think my code still will work or not?
Yes, it will work.
Of course it will work. So now here I can add another flight. I can add an ID 8, the name of the flight, whatever it is, plan, whatever it is. Then I need departure date. Then I need origin, arrival date, whatever destination. And now I need stop here 10. But I'm going to change the date a little bit. Now it's 31. Is this month here, which is August, it's 31 or it's 30 August? Can August be 31 or not? I need to check the calendar. So is August can
Yes.
be 30? It
31.
can?
Yes,
Because it's
it
holiday.
can.
Okay, so let me
Holidays are always longer.
So let me make it 31 like that. It should be at the bottom. Now, if I go to my flight, notice it's automatically being added without anything. KK00, IRT00, 31, and voila. And that's how your code should be. So when your code, if it's good enough, if your data change, it will automatically adapt to the change in your DOM. Do you get my idea? That's how it should be. Clear or not? Now here, if I change any guise of those, it will not affect, I will not have any error. Why? Because simply what I am doing in my handler, as you can see, first, I don't care how many flights is there. I just am organizing them. If they are 1 or 10 or million, I don't care. As long as structure is correct, of course. Then I'm looping through them. I don't care if they are 1 or 10 or million. And then I'm creating for each one of them a flight DOM elements, and I'm appending it to the parent. So it doesn't matter if my data is 5 or 7 or 10 or 20, as long as my data structure is correct. I have this date here. Of course, if you did not pass some data, it will not work. Because now I'm telling my stuff here, I want this data. So you need to pass all this data here with the name, plane, departure date, origin, arrival date, destination, stop. If you add the correct data, it doesn't matter if you add 10 flight or 20 or 100 or 1,000, your website is still working correctly. I think that should be clear if I'm not mistaken, right? Yes, no.
Yes.
Good. Now what I need to do, I need to go to my...
How many days do we have for the...
Just today. Because I've already did it for you.
2 days, right?
1 day. Why do you need 2 days, Daria?
No, just asking. No, just asking.
You can try to finish it today. If it's not finished today, I'll give you some time tomorrow. It's fine. It's okay. Don't worry about that. Now, what is my function doing? It's sorting the flight by departure date, right? So that's what my function is doing. I'm just now trying to write GS.doc. Now, what parameter is taken here? Well, the parameter is taken here. It will be an object, actually. Object, like that, which is date. And here it will be as a data object, something like that. What does it return here? What my function return? It return an array, the sorted flight. And while I'm writing my GS.doc, as you can see. So the date object, and here, by the way, you can add property if you want to here. So you can add some property if you want to, or not parameter here. Control Z, you can just say add property like that. And the property here is array data.flight, the flight to be sorted. And of course, this one should be should be like that. So I know that this property belongs to this object if you want to do it. Actually, it doesn't matter. It's okay like that. And here I need to end it with dot. Here I need to end it with dot. Here I need to end it with dot. And here I need to end it with dot. So the first step I did, I document my function, as you can see. Data type object, prefer object. Yeah, okay. So it's just telling me I need to use object. I'm using object. Voila. By the way, because I'm using ESLint, it will give you some hint. So also it will help you. So what parameter I'm taking? I'm taking my parameter is object of data, which will be the data object. This object has one property, which is an array. data.flight, and that's a flight to be sorted. And of course, what it return an array is a sorted flight. Is there any problem here? Is there any problem here?
No.
Okay, now I need to write some test for my function. Why? Because simply util and component function, we need to write some test for them. I just need to import, actually I can reuse this one here. First, I need to import my function, so I can just import sort flight. I think the name is sorted flight. Voila, VS Code will help me. So I will say .js, simply like that. Now, of course, I need to remove, let me remove one test, and like that, if I need it, I can just duplicate it. I'm not gonna change anything here. Describe test like that. I need to, what my function is doing? Sort the flight by departure date, right? So I can just say sort flights by departure date. Voila. So first I need to write what my function is doing inside the suite. Then now I'm trying to run my first test here. My first test, of course, let's see what I can do here. And I can say, for example, sort two flights, for example, two flights. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to see if it will sort two flight or not. So I will say const actual. Now I'm going to call my function, of course, which will be sort flights. And in sort flight, of course, as you know, I need to pass an object, right? My function here, I need to pass an object, right? And here inside it, I need to have flights, because as property called flights, and flight, of course, need to be an array. And now here I can add, in this array, I can add two flights. It's data up to you, by the way. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to my data, or you can bring some new flights if you want to. I'm take this one because it's the date here is 5, and I take the last one because the date is 31. And I will try to sort them. If the sort is working correctly, it should give me something. So I'm gonna take this guy. And actually I don't need that. And I can take another guy, whatever I want to. I'm gonna take this one. Yeah. And I don't need that. And here, of course, the ID, it will be 2. And now what I can do, I can cut this one and put it as the top. Voila. Now, as you can see, I am passing this data. So I'm calling my function, I'm passing this data like that. If my function is working correctly and it sort my flights, this one here should be at the top, right? And this one should be at the bottom. Yes? Yes, no?
Yes.
And now here I can reorganize my stuff here. So it should, of course, it return an array, as you know. And this array here, of course, if it's correct 100%, I will have the flight 1 and the flight 2, like that. Well, that's my test simply. So I'm calling my function. I can put this one outside if I want to, of course. I'm passing two flight, as you can see, flight 2, ID 2 then ID 1. And of course, if it's sorting correctly, because the date is 5, it should take this one to the top, this one to the bottom. And I'm expecting the actual. So the actual, it will be this value with the sorted flight to be equal to 1. That's the first one. And then that's the second one. So let's run our test and see if it will pass or not. For component function now, I will just empty it. So I don't have any error. Let me just empty this one like that. Let's remove this one so I don't have any error. So what should I do? Well, it's quite simple. All I have to do just say npm run test. NPM, test. And if I run it, and I'm using old Node version, so I need to change it. NVM use 20. And then npm run test. And voila. So as you can see here, my test here, which is a sort flight, it's working, it's passing 100%, but the one is failing is create flight. Why? Because create flight simply, I did not test it yet. So if I go to create flight, which is a component function, I did not write test to it yet. That's why it's giving me this one. But as you can see, pass, which will be a util sorted flight dot test. Everything is good. Yeah? Yes, no?
Yes.
Good. So I'm sure now my my util function is working perfectly. And now I need to document and test my component function. So let's go here. Here now I need to document this one. Of course, to document this one, I will just go to the top and I will just say slash asterisk asterisk click, and it will give me by default this stuff here. So what this function is doing here, it just create a flight element, DOM element or element. I need to make some space. And what parameter I need? So a parameter here, it will be a flight. Here, it will be an object. Here, the flight date here. Flight object or flight date. What does it return? What does it return? It return HTML element or DOM element, which is a flight element. Is the idea clear here? Yes, no?
Yes.
So I'm taking the flight object and it return me a DOM element here. It's HTML or DOM element here, which is flight element. As you can see, flight DOM or flight element. Okay. Now I need to write some test for this one here. For this function, I'm going to open it in the other side. Click on this one. First, I need to import my function, as you know. So let's import my function. Import. What we call it? We call it create flight, right? So create flight from create flight.js. I need to add .js here. So, okay, I imported my functions. That's good. Now I need to write my test here. And for my test here, I actually need to create my element. So to create my element, I can just say const flight DOM. It's equal to, now I will call my function create flight and I will pass the data. So as you can see, create flight, and I'm passing one object here, ID one, blah, 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 plane, departure, origin, and blah, blah, blah. So it's some dummy data. Now I can write my test here, so I can now check if the flight element, the parent is correct or not. So how can I do that? So here I just need to say, I can just say check, no, here node name. Do you know what the node name is doing? What is the node name? So the node name, it should be div, all uppercase, like that. Why? Because the parent of my element, what it is a div. So I'm checking if the element is a div or not. And here, what I can do here, I can just say to equal. Why it's better to use to equal, not to be? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me why it's better to use to equal, not to be? Hmm. Yeah. Let's run our test again. I need to change the node again. Come on. Let's run our test again. And both should pass. And here, actually, I have a problem. Yeah, because it's class name. It shouldn't be class name. Actually, here should be node name. Node name. And now, let's try to run it again. And I should pass. And voila. So both my function are passing. Why? Because here I'm trying, when I call my function, it will return me the flight DOM, which will be a div, and inside this div, I have a lot of other divs. So here I have a flight. This one I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 div inside it. So what is the type of element of the parent? Of course, it's the div, and node name. I told you all the time, node name, it should be the element, but it will be uppercase. I also can check what's the class name of the parent. And in order to check that, I can just copy paste this one, or I can write it here and just class name. So the class name of the flight, it should be flight, right? Why? Because as you can see, I give it flight. So in order to check the class, I say flight DOM, which is my element here, dot class name, it should be equal to flight. And that's the second test. And if I run it, it should pass it as well. And voila, as you can see. It's passing both of them. So I've checked the div, I've checked the flight. Now I need to check how many children this parent div flight has. So what I can do, I can run another test like that and say child count, not name, should be child count. Yeah, child element count. So I think it has 7 children. I'm not quite sure, but how can I check how many children I have? Well, if you select the flight DOM, which will be the element dot, and search for child, we have something called child element count. It will count how many element inside these element. And as you can see here, I'm expecting inside this div, I have 7 because I have name, plane, departure, origin, arrival day, destination, stops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there are 7 inside it. And here it will return me a number, by the way. So this method here, if I hover over it, as you can see, it will say property parent.child, it return number. And if you don't know what it means, you can just click on the MDN and it will show you also child element count, where it return how many children that this element has. Is the idea clear so far, guys?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
So here for to equal, where you put 7, is there a way to make it dynamic, or do we have to, once we add another element in the DOM or in the data, must we come back here to this test and change 7 to 8, 10, and so on?
To be honest, even if there is a dynamic way, we shouldn't use it. Now, the idea when you change, you need to understand something, Ejid. Now, when you create a component or util function, you are not the only one using it. So imagine this way, this function now, your colleague using it in 100 places. And then you came and add another element as they don't know about it. So their code, it will not work. Your code, your code will work, but their code is not going to be working. So this one, actually, you should do it manually like that. You will make sure that all the time you shouldn't change the element count from 7 to 8. If you need that for something else, you should create a new function. You got my point?
Yes.
Because remember, always these component and util functions are reusable. Reusable means that not only you are using them, and that's the reason actually why you are writing test. Because whenever you change or modify something here, you should be able to pass the test. If you should not be able to pass the test, that means it will show an error for your colleague, and that's not what you should do. Okay? Yes?
Okay.
So now I am sure is I have 7 children, which is good. Now I can check the first child if I want to. So the first child, what it will be, of course, you can check the second child, third child, whatever you want to. For now, I'm going to show you how to test the first child only, and the rest, it will be the same. So let's go here, test. You can just say test. And test, as you know, it take just a string and function. So I know I'm passing my function like that. Voila. And I will save it here. I will just say check the first child. But how can I check the first child? Well, it's quite simple, actually. As you know, we have, so we have the flight DOM, that's my element, dot children. So if I say dot children, like that, dot children here, it will give me, as you can see, it will give me HTML collection. An HTML collection, I can access it using the index. So because I can use the index here, I can just say bracket 0, that means the first child. If I want the second child, I will say bracket 1. If I want the other child, and so on and so on and so on. So I'm expecting, no dot here. So in here, I'm saying flight DOM children 0, that means the first child. I am first child. What do I want to check the first child? I want to check the node name of the first child. So to check the first node, I just say node name. And here's the node name I am expecting it to be. What the node name will be for the first child. What the element will be.
Div.
Of course, it will be div, but node name all the time they are
HTML collection.
Uppercase.
Uppercase.
All of them, they
Okay.
are uppercase. All the time they are uppercase. So Dev here, it should be like that. Okay. Now I'm checking that the first child is a Dev. Now I need to make sure it has a class as well. So I can duplicate this line and I can say class name to equal to name. And now also I can check the inner text, by the way. Same idea, fly dot children bracket 0 dot inner text. It must be equal to, what is the name of the flight? I don't know. So let's check here. It's VQ minus 903. VQ minus 03, which is called. Now there is an easier way actually to do this one. Now if I pass my test here, of course it will pass them. As you can see, I don't have any error. It will pass everything, which is good. But as you can see, I am repeating this one here, repeating this one, repeating this one, repeating this one. Each time my just going through this test, it go to the fly DOM, which is an object, then it access the children, then it access the first child, then this property. And it's doing it again and again and again. Can I make this one a little bit better? Can I make this one a little bit better?
Yes.
How?
Instead of accessing the child, you can access the whole object.
But actually, we are accessing the whole object here. That's the whole object, which will be the parent of all. Then we are accessing children, then we are accessing the first child. But an easy way it will be, I can just say const first child. And now first child, as you can see now, I will just say fly dom.children bracket 0. Now I will access it one time. And here I don't need to access them again and again. No, I can just reuse this variable. So I can remove this one. Voila. I can remove this one. Voila. I can remove this one. Voila. And my code here is much better. Why? Because before I was accessing, going to the big object, which will be as a fly dome, then I'm going to access the first child, then I'm accessing some property. But here I am saving the child itself. The first child, I'm saving it in an object. And now each time I need something, I'm just accessing one object. Instead of accessing one object, then go to the first item, then access the object. Is the idea clear?
Yes, Samir, I have a question. On the line 35, we testing inner text,
Could
but
you
this
try
inner
again?
text, it's. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
On the line 35, we are testing inner text, but it's not static data, it's dynamic. And for the moment, you have this VQ, etc. But in a few minutes, you have exactly different data, and we will fail this test.
No. Why? Because as you can see here, I am passing specific data. So when I test, I'm not going to test everything. No, I am testing this flight here. So the inner text, it will be name, it will be this one.
Okay.
I'm testing one flight only. It doesn't make sense to test all of them. You got my point?
Yeah, but in this case, what's the reason test the flight? Because it's dynamic data, and it will change every minute.
So the idea of this test here, I need to test it with one flight to make sure that the children of it, all of them are correct. The first child, it is Dev. The first child has a class name. And here's the inner text of it. It should be this one here. Now here, I am just taking one sample. And if it works with the sample, then it will work with everything.
Okay.
You got the idea?
Yeah, I got your point.
Now here's for the first child. I can do the same for the second child, but it will be second child, fly dom.children, bracket 1, and bracket 2, bracket 3, and so on, and so on, and so on. And now, as you can see, I've passed all my tests here. So if I try again and again and again and again, it will doesn't matter. Voila. I'm passing my test. Everything is good, 100%. So as you can see, now I was able to use separation of concern to create a simple, it looks like simple project. It's not that complex. First, I started with my index. I realized in my website, this part here, they will never change. And because they will never gonna change, I kind of created them, as you can see, I created them statically. So those are guys here, they never change. Here is just those for the title. I put them in the parent like that because I don't need to change them. This image is static, is never gonna change. But it was gonna change here the flight, and I need to append all of them to this parent. So first I need to select the parent. That should be simple actually. So let's go to my source here. Let's go to my DOM. My DOM, I just need the parent because I want to add all my flight inside this parent. What are my data? Those are my data. I'm exporting my data. I'm exporting my DOM. That should be simple. Now here I need to go to the event first. What is the event I want? I want my I want when the image is loaded, the data is loaded, the HTML is loaded, everything is loaded, and if everything is loaded, the event will be load. And as you can see, Windows as load is on the Windows, so we say Windows.add event listener load, then I will call my handler. Remember, I told you we need to put the handler as a listener inside a function. Why? Because like that, I can export something specific, which will be only this function. And now in the init, I will just import the listener or the event, and then I will excuse them because it's a function. Simply like that. Now, if I go to my handler, well, if I go to my handler first, I need to organize my flight because some of them are not organized. So I create a util function for that. And now this util function here is called sort flight. I need to import it. And I need to pass the data here. And it will return me an array of sorted flight. And then because it's an array, I can loop through them. And here I will get an object because each flight is an object. And for each object, I can create a flight DOM. And I need to pass the data. And I create a component function for that. Then I need to append it to the parent. If I go to the util, it's quite simple function. As you can see, I documented. All I have to do, I'm receiving my data as a parameter. Then I'm saving them in organized flight. So data.flight.sort A and B. A and B are two objects because the flight is an object. So here, what I'm going to do here, I will create a new date from the departure date. So A.departure date. Dot get time, it will convert the time to millisecond and minus the B here. So it will kind of sort them here from the smallest to the biggest. Simply like that. Because this one, it will return me a number, an integer, because it's in millisecond. It will convert the whole time in millisecond. So I should be okay. I'm exporting my functions. Should be, I've wrote some tests for my function and they're passing. Everything is good. Guys, I have a phone number. Just give me a second. Hello?
What? Finish?
Okay, guys, everything is okay with you? Hello?
Yes.
Good. So now those are my, I'm testing my, yeah, I'm testing here my sorted flight. Everything is fine. And if I go to my handler, of course, I told you in the my handler here, first I need to import the data and the DOM. I need both sorted flight, which is util function, and create flight. So simply, I'm just organizing my flight first. I'm saving them here. Then I'm looping through the organized flight. Now I will have an object. From this object, I can create a flight. Then I can append it to the parent. Simply like that. Now for the component function, it's simple. Here I'm passing the flight data, whatever they are. It's an object, of course, with some properties. And I'm creating a div with class. I'm creating name, plane, departure, arrival day, destination, stop. That's for each flight. Then I'm appending all of them to the flight DOM. Then I'm returning the flight DOM. I'm returning it because in the handler, I need to say, that's my flight DOM. I'm returning it, I'm saving it here. So what I can do now is a DOM element. I say DOM.parent.append or append child, the flight DOM. And voila, everything is working perfectly. Is that okay? Question? Question? Question?
Samir,
No questions.
if you would like us not to copy paste your code, but figure it out ourselves and work on it. So like only today, it's not enough, like for sure, even for the more advanced students. So we need more time.
Okay, fine. I'll give you more time, but you need, of course, you don't need to cheat. I'm teaching you. I've done it for you. I give you the solution. I will give you some time to work on it. Now, what you need to do, you already have the template repo. Create a repo on your own GitHub account. Create a deliverable issue, and start working on the project. Of course, at the break, I will come there just to take the attendant. And yeah, you can work on it. I mean, if you have a question, you can ask me, but I've already explained everything. Is the idea clear?
Okay.
If you need more time, I can give you, not just today and tomorrow. It's fine. Yeah?
Okay. And also,
Any
Samir,
question?
if you are sick, maybe we can go home and work from home, all of us, and you can stay at home.
Yeah, but the problem is Goldkin. He just came here. He will be sad, Goldkin.
God, can you say something? Do you want to go home?
Yeah,
Yes,
he will be sad.
Yeah, but he's sick and he's thinking to go home
yes, I'm
because
sick.
yeah.
Goldkin is sick too.
Yes,
Yes.
and he came.
And you told me if you told us if you lose your one arm, you have to still come with your other arm.
I did not get it. What?
So I came, but you didn't came.
Yeah, but because I was very sick in the morning, I was not able even to move.
Okay, I am also same. Yeah.
I was not able to move. I mean, if I'm able to move, it's fine. It doesn't matter. Even if I'm dying, I can come. But if I'm not able to move, it's difficult to come, Goldkin. Yeah. Yeah, I
So
was not expecting. Yeah.
can I go home?
Yes, but not now. Just give